call to order. We've done the roll call. We've done communications. We've asked for communications. We have accepted the minutes of January 11th. We've asked for old business, and having none, moved on to new business and are currently at variance 2201 application of David Richardson for the property located at 120 William Street, assessor's map 084, lot 001, lot 011, my apologies, 011, MF zoning district, owner Lafayette Dental Group, these LLC. We are now discussing the merits of the variance and the hardship. Now we're up to speed.
Okay, perfect.
Rich,
Yes.
the only other thing to add is this Zoom meeting is being recorded, so we do have a recording of it already as well.
No, I just started the recording of the Zoom meeting.
Oh, you
That was-
didn't have the tape play, you didn't have the tape recorder going as well?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
yeah, then we had those issues.
I'll do a quick recap in
Okay.
a matter of seconds. So there were three things I was going to talk about. I was going to talk about hardship. I was going to talk about briefly the comprehensive zoning plan for the city of Norwich, and then I was going to talk about the Connecticut general statutes, the powers and duties of the zoning board. I talked about hardship. I gave at least 4 elements, most of which had to deal with parking. And now I'm dealing with the second one is the overall comprehensive zoning plan of Norwich. And I was reading briefly from the zoning regs about the philosophy, and I talked about health, safety, welfare in regards to the comprehensive zoning plan, that it would be to maintain and enhance community character and improve the economic value of property and the general welfare of residents. In some cases, preserve characters of neighborhood. And specifically here with this property, we have an established dental practice. I know that Dr. Richardson has been there for a number of years, 30 years. And prior to that, it was an existing dental practice, which Dr. Richardson said he found some medical record notes in his basement today that went back to the early 70s. So it's an established dental practice. It's in an old wood frame house that is well kept, well manicured, well landscaped. And because it's a medical practice, it's important to note the hours. And again, this all refers back to the character in the community, the impact on the neighborhood. I know that may have changed a bit from COVID, but I know that Dr. Richardson works, in the neighborhood of 8 to 5, 4, sometimes 5 days a week, and the exceptions would be emergencies. So that all being said, any change or additions regarding the parking really wouldn't affect the overall comprehensive zoning plan in Norwich. And then the last thing, I wanted to talk about briefly, obviously, I know that the Zoning Board of Appeals gets its power from the zoning regs as well as Connecticut general statute. And often Connecticut general statute 8-6, and I know many of you know this, but it's, I think, an important part of this thought or analysis. The powers and duties of the zoning boards of appeals. Often it gives the zoning board the authority to exclude specific types of activities or specific variances for the protection of that overall comprehensive zoning plan. And what I would say here is that this, in fact, is in the alternative, in that this application would give this property use or this board the authority to include this property, because there is, in fact, I think, a benefit to having a practice like this in the community. We've discussed the lack of impact. It's an established business. It's not a new business going on. And And I think Ms. Madden will talk briefly, I think, and be able to answer some questions historically about what's happened in this neighborhood and its proximity to Backus Hospital. But really, I guess in concluding, I think that the consideration for having a dentist's office with ample parking, if our variance was to be granted, would help overcome this hardship, these issues of lack of parking. And it would be for the promotion of health, safety, convenience, and general welfare of the public. Essentially, I think that's really all I have to say. Obviously, I would avail myself to any questions. I could answer any questions through Dr. Richardson if the board had anything specific. And I think that, we've established the substantial hardship and that it wouldn't negatively impact the comprehensive or the overall comprehensive zoning plan for Norwich. Really, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Mattern?
Okay. Okay, my name is Susan Mattern, GT Associates, 148 Route 2 in Preston, Connecticut. And of course, I'm representing, along with Attorney Wickless, Dr. Richardson of Lafayette Dental Group Properties, LLC. I don't know if it's necessary to reread the requested variances into the record.
No, we have them. They're in the minutes already. But if you
Okay.
wanted to explain each one, why you need each one and demonstrate it on the map.
Okay, yep, I'll get into that. And also the exhibits, everybody had a copy, so that's in the record as well. So I wanted to start out by saying number 67 Lafayette Street is a two-story wood frame building. It was built in 1810 and it houses the Lafayette Dental Group. It has housed a dental office since, I believe it was the 60s. And the reason I say that is because I went to that dentist office at the referral of Dr. Lowney in the 60s after I needed braces. And I recall Dr. Tromer was in that building. Number 120 William Street is a 1 3/4 story residence built in 1922. And just to talk a little bit about the history of the area as I recall it, at least from back in the 1960s, numerous medical professionals wanted their offices to be close to Backus Hospital. So they purchased residential properties on Lafayette Street. They were joined by other professionals, dentists, orthodontists, attorneys, and other professionals. Over time, offices began springing up also on Sachem Street and other streets in the neighborhood. As more of the businesses came in, they grew and their need for more space grew. Existing buildings were combined to create more square footage, torn down to create more parking, and access drives were designated as one-way means of ingress or egress, all designed to alleviate the constraints of the neighborhood's small lot sizes and to continue the successful use in the zone. If you refer to the assessor's map copy, and I'm going to pass that out right now. And we are,
Yeah, I can pull that up. I've got it here.
we are up
someplace.
here in this corner. And I printed out the
Here, I've got it here.
the whole
You got it.
neighborhood in the blocks. Okay. So if you refer to kind of the general location in the neighborhood and all of the surrounding properties, the lots range in size from approximately 0.1 acre to 0.5 acre. If you attempted to create a zone for business in an area such as this now, it would never happen. You're looking for, zones to be created where like North Orthopedic Group is. That's the kind of property you would look for to create a zone like this now. Yeah, this is what happened in numerous cities and towns across the state. It happened around Lawrence Memorial Hospital, and it happened around Westerly Hospital in Rhode Island. So now that we have this zone, neighborhood commercial, it has to work. Number 67 Lafayette Street has been a dentist's office since, I believe, the 1960s. The practice has numerous elderly patients. Kevin had in the application that 45% of Dr. Richardson's patients are senior citizens, elderly, and about 5% utilize a wheelchair, walker, or a cane. And Kevin pointed out that there's no on-street parking in front of the building. And if there were, I think we can all agree that it's really not as safe as on-site parking. Number 120 William Street has been rented as a residence since about 1996, from what I can tell from the assessor's card. Over time, Dr. Richardson's predecessors began using a portion of 120 William Street for parking and to pile snow in the winter. The portion being utilized has become necessary for parking for the dentists, employees, and their patients. So what we want to do is, and this is where I guess I'll point. Should I point there or should I point here?
Up there is fine.
Here, they'll be on the
Yep.
Zoom. They-
So the shaded portion is 1,752 feet. That currently belongs to 120, but we would like to be able to take that portion of 120 and combine it with 67 Lafayette Street. Dr. Richardson intends to sell this property once, hopefully these variances are granted. The reduced acreage is in keeping with the small acreages of the neighborhood. The land we wish to combine is not utilized by the residents and is separated. There's a chain link fence here which separates this area, shaded area. So it's between the house and the shaded area. So we are seeking to reduce the lot area from 10,000 required to what will be left would be 2,857 square feet with number 120 William Street. We want to reduce the lot width because we're taking away 8 feet. We want to reduce from 60 feet required in this multifamily zone to 54.69 feet provided. We want to increase the lot coverage from 25% required to 35% provided, meaning we're taking this away so we have more square footage of the house on a smaller lot, so that automatically reduces the lot coverage. We want to reduce the side yard setback from 10 feet required, 10 feet required on this side, to 1.5 feet provided to the existing house and 0.6 feet provided to the overhang. And we want to reduce the rear yard setback from 25 feet required, is the walkway which gets to this back door and the chain fences right here, to the existing house and 0.1 feet provided to the overhang, this overhang that comes up here. The purpose of the NC zone, which is 67 Lafayette Street, is twofold. Small-scale business opportunities and mixed-use development to service neighborhood needs. Our hardship is unique in that the use of this property has existed in excess of 50 years, and the parking spaces located on 120 William Street have been utilized since about 1996. Literal enforcement of regulations would result in exceptional difficulty or unusual hardship. Parking spaces in area for plowed snow, this would be the plowed snow area, are a necessity pertinent to the dentist's office. We are in conformance with the public health, safety, convenience, welfare, and property values in the neighborhood in which properties lie. You know, by taking away, we really are not changing anything that's there now. It's the same, it looks the same, and it is in harmony with other properties in the neighborhood. We will not substantially affect Norwich's comprehensive zoning plan. And that's something that Attorney Whiplis addressed earlier. And the small size of number 67 Lafayette Street creates a hardship imposed by conditions outside of the property owner. Has this small property to deal with. It's small. You know, he has a business. If they've been in business since 1960, they probably still have a lot of those same clients. And then there's new clients, and there's just a need for parking for employees and patients and doctors. Any questions at this time?
Bob? Dave, any questions? Dave?
No, I don't have any questions. I remember that dentist place. I took my kids there back in the 70s.
Okay.
Actually, I do have some questions. First question actually goes to staff. The variance is being asked, the variance is asking for a reduction of the property within the multifamily zone. And my question would revolve around the encroachment of multifamily by the neighborhood commercial. So if we grant this variance based on that, will that condition occur? Will we be allowing an encroachment of?
Right, so that, just to clarify here, so the property line is the zone line between the
Correct.
neighborhood commercial. Correct, so what we have is we have an encroachment of the commercial activity into the multifamily zone, where the multifamily zone, the commercial activity would not be a permitted use.
Correct.
Is there an avenue to add more parking? Possibly.
Well,
My records didn't show any approvals, any reviews, any permits
that was my next question.
for,
Before we get into that, let me delve a little further into this. We are being asked to consider a variance on 120 William Street
correct,
to reduce the setbacks that are established by our zoning regulations. Knowing that both properties are owned by the same individual, we have to look at them as individual properties
correct,
on record.
correct. The application is for the William Street. property.
Correct.
Correct.
So I'm confused, basically, bear with me a second, because I'm a little confused about this. We're being asked to grant a variance for 120 William Street to reduce the setbacks, but the property, the
Justification?
No, the property of 120 William Street still, let me figure out how to put this.
Is the same owner, that's the way I.
Well, it's the same owner, but the problem I'm having, the heartburn I'm having with this is that we have the ability to grant a variance for setbacks on a piece of property. But I don't understand the purpose, because if we grant the setback reduction, the owner of that parcel, and that's what I'm dealing with here, is the parcel, the owner of the parcel still owns this property. So I don't get it. I don't understand. What would make this a lot more clear to me would be if there were a unity of title for the two pieces of property, which would then combine both 120 and 68 Lafayette as one parcel, whether it be one parcel including to be 68 or one parcel to be 120 William Street, would be, I think, up to a zoning issue, because we have one parcel straddling two zoning districts, one way or another. So then my next question, before we even get to the
Yes.
how it got there, would be, would the building at 120 William Street be allowed to exist under one parcel in the neighborhood commercial? Or would the neighborhood commercial being included on the property in unity of title be allowed in that section of the
It's a very complicated question. And
Well,
I don't think
I
there's,
understand. I don't think I
Yeah.
don't think I'm being eloquent enough in
Well,
asking it
I
to
think
be
I-
understood.
right, I think I understand what you're asking, but we're really dealing with two separate zones. If they were to merge the properties together, which I believe is what you were saying,
Correct.
if they were to merge the properties, then we have one parcel of property straddling two zones. The dental office is a conforming use. The residential in the other zone is a conforming use, but now we've created one parcel of property with two buildings on it
In two zones.
in two zones. If they're, purely from if they were merged standpoint, when you have two zones and you straddle the zone, you're allowed to go 25 feet into the other zone with the non-conformity, which, so that's, but it gets really complicated trying to figure out how you would merge the properties together and have two non-conforming. And as they stated before, the ultimate goal, my understanding is that he wants to sell that house.
Yeah, that's fair.
With a reduction of the property that he's seeking a variance for.
Correct. So we have
Which really goes back to my initial inquiry about having one piece of property in two zones, because even granting the variance, and this is where the confusion really comes in, is that on paper, 120 Williams will be reduced to the residential building. But the increase in usable space for the practice will go into the multifamily zone. How does that not get sold with the property? So
it's complicated.
yeah, it's extremely
The
complicated.
regulations, and we're talking about 120 William Street.
Correct.
But the
Although
regulations
been
require-
we've been referring greatly to the practice at Lafayette Street.
Well, this is where the complication comes in, because the regulations require, when you have a site plan that's approved and you make modifications, that you go back and have that site plan modified. There was no modification. They just paved into the other property that they owned. So this is a complicated mess.
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
About the zone, should the variances be approved, I would write a deed of consolidation.
Or
So it would, rather than this being described separately as it is now, and this being
Include that.
described separately, I would come and I would grab the shaded area.
but then again, we're going back over into the multifamily zone
Correct.
with this property.
That would not change by doing a deed of consolidation. That would require a zone a modification to the zone map.
Are we allowed to do parking in multifamily? It's not, in the family zone, it's not contiguous to the property.
Wouldn't that be creating a non-conformance to the other property when they went to do that?
Well, this is where it gets overly complicated because first of all, the site plan needs to be modified for the dental office to allow it. But we got to figure out what vehicle can be used for that modification. If it can be done off-street parking, you know, if we can pull it into there. You know, it's complicated, you know, and we're dealing with one property with the application, but we're dealing with the other property. So I don't have a simple, easy answer for it. You know, we have something that is done. And, you know, now they want to sell the house and this is,
That's my issue, is I really don't, I'm not, really opposed to expanding like the parking area. The snow issue is a snow issue. Other places hire trucks in, you come in, scoop the snow out, if it gets too much, get rid of it. To me, that's not a real issue. My issue is if you're gonna sell this house and you're basically putting it into a postage stamp. I mean, this place has no place to go, although there is a fence that goes around. Who says that the new owners aren't gonna wanna keep their fence? There was a fence on my property when I bought it. The fence is no longer there because I didn't want the fence. I keep the fence now. But if the new owners don't want the fence here, but they want their original property, I can understand the backside where it's basically already paved anyway, if they want to sell that. And I'm all for keeping businesses happy in Norwich, so I don't want to see anybody ever think of leaving. But I also have to look at this house and the rest of the neighborhood and what are we doing with it,
And again, the house
is the big issue.
is, well, it's what's being asked for variance on.
Right.
not-
Gentlemen, I think we're getting off track and we're already into discussion and debate. I think we're.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, I'm sorry, that was my question. The other question.
Right, but I think we should focus our questions and then focus the questions to the applicant about that. I think we're having a worthy discussion on this, but I think we're putting the cart before the horse on this thing right now. You
All right,
know,
let me consolidate my question then. Why was a unity of title or consolidation of property not considered prior to bringing this to us?
Because we couldn't do it because we would be in violation of zoning regulations.
Okay. All right, that's
But we
then,
can certainly do it.
I see.
Should the variances be granted.
Okay. The second question I have is a memorandum from staff to the board is raising questions about how and when the paved area came to
Can you make it louder?
any light you can shed on that?
Well, what's the memorandum? And
okay. The
I
language
haven't
is,
seen it.
to the board members, if approved, the request variance would result in an increase in already existing nonconformity
Okay.
relating to lot size and create additional nonconformities relating to the side and rear yard setbacks and the required lot frontage. Staff found no record of the pavement on 120 William Street, which is associated with the permitted office at 67 Lafayette, which had been reviewed, approved, and permitted by the city. So basically, they're asking the question, where did the paving and when did the paving, where did the paving come from and when?
Yeah, I don't know honestly offhand. I mean, I could make an inquiry and ask Dr. Richardson, but I don't know.
Okay, that's my question.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like these nonconformities would have to be addressed. But I don't have that knowledge specifically. Yeah,
Sure.
I mean, if it's not, if there's no record, then I don't know.
Those were my questions. I
Yeah.
apologize for getting into a discussion prematurely.
Could I just add one quick thing in response? I heard the term postage stamp lot, and I do agree it is small, but it is important to note that this portion, this asphalt driveway, this hedge, and there's an existing garage there, is all part of, I think that's pretty obvious, but I didn't want that to be overlooked.
Thank you. Anybody else with questions? Now that I've taken everybody's time.
Just to make it so I'm 100% clear, the intent would be to, if we grant this variance, then you would reshape or whatever the other lot to encompass it, so that we're allowing you to make the lot small, is basically what
Right.
this
Yes.
This
does.
one's smaller and this one larger.
Correct. But this variance is just for this one, but it'll allow you to do that and make the other one larger.
That's correct.
Dottie, any questions?
No, I think I'm all set.
Greg?
Hold on one second. What is the question I have is, you drew this up, what is the distance between the building and the proposed area, this shaded area? I see 8 feet here. What is this distance between the areas here? If, for those who didn't
May I
see
have
where
a
I was
picture?
going, I'm going from building to building where they're showing line. I'm asking what the total distance is. I see 8 feet they're requesting, but I want to know what the total distance would be.
Okay, about 15 feet.
Right.
In fact, I may have made that. I'm not sure.
From the paved area to the
Basically
lot
from-
line.
Right, basically from right here, we
Yeah.
have the house.
You can see
Where
there's
you're
a
gonna go
picture of
here.
it.
Right, but there's nothing in here.
Yeah,
I'm showing 8
understood.
feet, but I'm not seeing any
Yeah.
distance.
Absolutely.
Peter, any questions?
Oh, thanks. No,
I do have one question. You guys did a great job explaining why you need to move the line for 67 Lafayette, but I'd like you to demonstrate your hardship for 120 William Street, because you're asking for a variance to reduce all of these setbacks. And to me, you haven't made any presentation on why you need to do it for that particular property.
120 Williams, that is.
Correct.
Correct. The one that you're applying the variance to, in order to get granted a hardship, you have to demonstrate something on why you have to do it. And what we've heard is why 67 Lafayette needs it, but not why you need to do this to 120 Lafayette, to 120 Williams.
I understand. I know. I know the answer isn't as simple as bringing the variance application for 67, but maybe it is. To demonstrate the hardship, yeah.
I mean, we are bound, you gave us our rules, we're bound to operate within those rules. And a hardship has to be demonstrated for us to vary the regulations. And to ask me to vary the regulations to this property to help another one, I don't think you've made a case.
I understand. In regards to 120 Williams.
Right. For the matter that the application is for 120 Williams.
Right, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't ask anybody to speculate, but I mean, I understand your question. It seems that, you know, if we had brought this on behalf of 67, it would make more sense.
But you understand we're bound to act on the application presented.
Right, 120.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
I got one more question. What would be approximately the distance from the side of the existing garage to that new property?
New edge of pavement?
The new edge of pavement or the property, the shaded line? Just approximately.
Foot and a half, same as the house,
From,
the garage.
Yeah, she's got it. Yeah.
About
yeah,
Okay.
it's,
Yeah. Thank you.
Does the board have any more questions? Does the applicant have anything else before I open it up to public statement?
not just-
no, not at this time. Like, 1 second, I wanna, if I could, refer with Dr. Richardson.
No, no, you can speak now.
What I would say is the chairperson is saying that the application to be considered should be brought. Right, well, I'm just saying, in order to be effective, we don't have anything further.
Okay, I'm just gonna open it up for public comment. If we get some other comments and you guys would like to rebut it, we'll certainly afford you the opportunity to do so. Is there anyone else to speak in favor of this appeal?
Come on, introduce.
Hi, I'm Steve Richardson's real estate agent who've been, I've done
Name and
all.
address.
Name and address.
We need your name and address.
Oh, BJ Lee, 8 Washington Lane, Norwich, okay. I just wanted to say, because I think it's a little bit confusing, and I understand that Kevin's gonna have to do some work on the other application for the other property. But just so you understand, because I think it's confusing, so I have been managing 120 William Street for years for Dr. Richardson, and it is a postage stamp lot, but we haven't had anybody with any issues with the fact that it's a postage stamp. Most of the properties on that street and surrounding streets are like that. Right now, presently, we have a single mom in there with 2 girls, and they play in the front lawns, there's a driveway, there's a garage. So I know it's confusing if you don't actually know the properties by just looking at these maps, but it's really, we don't really believe that it would impact 120 William Street because of the situation with taking the rest of the park. If that makes any sense.
Thank you.
No, I think, yeah.
Anyone else to speak in favor of the appeal? Anyone else to speak in favor? Anyone else is, oh. I see a hand.
Yeah, actually, Dr. Richardson has indicated he would like to make a
Okay.
comment.
I'm Dr. David Richardson. I've been at this office for 30 years.
Address, please.
67 Lafayette Street,
Thank you.
Norwich. And I always like to budget, and I budgeted and bought another dental practice from Lafayette Street, Dr. Ron Barrett's, who had been my friend for many years. That loan was $110,000 to buy his patients, the Rolodex of patients. So now the practice has a lot more patients, and those are elderly as well. Now, I didn't foresee 2 things. One, is Norwich obviously is working class, and I have a lot of Cigna patients with the state. I gave across the board raises 30% around 2010, and then Cigna sent me a letter, oh, we're going to compensate you 25% less. I can't go to my employees and say, oh, I didn't mean the raise. Now in November, Cigna just lowered the compensation another 10%. So it's not as easy as you think. This rich dentist can just pay a couple $1,000s to pull snow out. I don't have it. Dime was going to call my loans, so I got a $500,000 SBA loan. This practice isn't thriving. We're not getting compensated fairly. I've called every insurance. I took a Wednesday off, called all the insurance practices. They go, oh, we're raising any rates for the next 2 years. We won't even talk to you. Well, plywood has gone up 400% in 12 months. A 2x4 is $20. I don't have the money to not be able to sell the house and to just pay to do these things. You think I actually do construction on the place myself because I spent summers in Appalachia and the yards were just as small as this yard. I think it's like the single mom and the kids. I see the girls playing with their friends. I don't think this will hurt anything. I just wanted to say that. I know it's not a hardship. I'm just letting you guys know. Not everything is as it appears.
Thank you. Understood. Thank you. Anyone else to speak in favor of the appeal? Anyone else to speak in favor? Anyone else to speak in favor? Hearing none. Is there anyone to speak in opposition? Any opposition? Any opposition? Rich, is there anybody there could speak in opposition?
No, and there's nobody else on either.
Okay, thank you. All right. Attorney Wickless and Ms. Matter, is there anything you'd like to add? Before we close it and go into discussion, we can't take any additional testimony.
No, I mean, I would just hate for it to be as simple as bringing a application on another property and check another box with the same content and information. So I understand the process and the requirements according to statute notice. But it just seems like that would be shameful in the sense that I wouldn't want to waste anybody's time, but it's something worth considering. But I do want to thank everybody for their time tonight. I know it's after hours meeting. Thank you, though.
Thank you. Ms. Mattern?
No, I just add, it's not a hardship, but that the resultant parcel, 120 William Street, would be in harmony with the neighborhood, the residential zone, and the size of it.
Does the board have any other questions for the applicant? Hearing none. Rich, did all your exhibits get entered in?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
may I ask one question of the applicant? I was
Absolutely.
just looking at something real quick.
Yep.
All right, so I'm judging that because this section's already paved, that between the two buildings, that 15 feet I was talking to you about is where you're gonna put additional parking now, correct?
Here on the, would be the west side.
Yes, the
of-
side between the dental practice and 120 Williams, that area there, is that where the additional parking spaces are that you're looking to put in? You see all the parking spaces around. Any proposed
Yeah,
parking?
that's correct. It's not a site plan, it's existing condition.
Okay, and not, what my question is, are you planning on putting,
We actually have not discussed what may be required. I believe some of the photographs show.
Yeah,
the car-
parallel
I was gonna
parking.
say, I think I've seen.
Parallel.
It could be
parking.
parallel parking.
Yeah, There's at least one photo
There.
somewhere that shows a car parked in that area.
Right, along
Yeah, I
that
think it's
property.
right here, actually. Get a chance to look at this road.
Yeah, you
So it
can
might
see
be-
there's like a Subaru that's parked parallel to
Yeah.
120 William Street.
Yeah.
So it might not be lined, but there's people who park there, look like from the photo.
Right. But yeah, we're only with this reporting existing conditions, and then if, you know, the variances were granted, and Dr. Richardson wanted to pursue additional improvements, we'd have to go for site plan approval. But what this does was, it's basically, this plan would memorialize the variances that we are requesting.
Okay,
It's really the purpose of
Yeah.
this plan.
all right, that's all I, any question I have. Thank you.
I take it. too, but- yeah.
So Mark, I'll read everything in for the exhibit list if you want.
Yes, please.
Okay, so it's the 120 Williams Avenue site plan, the 120 William Street of butters list. I have as avenue on one and street on the other. 120 William Street, 67 Lafayette Street aerial photo. A 120 William Street and 67 Lafayette Street GIS map. The 120 William Street miscellaneous photos provided by the applicant. 120 William Street variance app, the abutters letter, the assessor's card, the January 11th VA minutes, map geo mailing labels for 120 William Street, the memorandum to the ZBA for 120 William Street, and the agenda.
Okay.
Those
Thank
were
you.
all- Those were all that were posted on the city website.
All right. If there's no more questions for the board,
No, sir.
no more statements from the applicant,
No, nothing further, but thank you.
Nothing further, thank you.
if I could get a motion to close to go into discussion,
Motion to close for discussion?
Second.
all those in favor to close the hearing?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, aye, unanimous, motion is closed. All right, so application V 2201, application of David Richardson for property located at 120 William Street, assessors map 84, block 1, lot 11, multifamily zoning district, owner Lafayette Dental Group Properties LLC. Request relief for zoning regulation, section 1.1 residential market requirements. Reduce the lot area from 4609 to 2857, where 10,000 is required. Reduce the lot width from 62.8 to 54.69, where 60 foot is required. Increase the lot coverage from 21% to 35%, where 25% is required. Reduce the side yard setback from 18.8 feet to 1.5 feet, where 10 feet is required. Reduce the rear yard setback from 25.6 feet to 3.1 feet, where 25 feet is required. We've heard the testimony. And I'm looking for a motion.
Motion to open the discussion on application V 22-01.
Second. Mark's laughing.
We should be making a motion to approve and then going into discussion. We gotta have a motion to take action and then we'll discuss it.
Yes. Anything else gets ugly or
Yes.
challenged.
Gets cloudy.
My motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the application
For discussion.
for discussion.
No,
It's for just approve the application.
right,
Thanks, Dave.
What discussion?
no,
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 I was gonna say that.
right,
I remember that, the conversation we had.
right.
Okay, that's what we're doing. Okay, second.
Second. All right, Greg, it's your motion to approve. Now we can discuss it.
Great, thank you. I don't know where to even start, honestly. It's a lot to digest. It's a lot to figure out. I have to agree, I don't know where the paving came from. According to Richard, it was never approved that paving done. I mean, I understand it's the same gentleman's property. I understand that, and to be very honest, I probably would have done the same thing, without even thinking, because I owned everything, so I probably would have done the same thing. I understand the doctor's plight, and I can really feel for him at this point, I really can. I just don't, we're looking at, he purchased, he tested, he said he purchased another practice with a lot of patients. But I don't see anything on this, and we're not really even talking about 120, we're talking about 67 Lafayette, which is really 120 we're supposed to be talking about. But I don't see anything that shows me where he's getting additional parking for all of these patients that he's looking for, that he wants out of this. I'm not seeing a big area where it's gonna affect and help him out anyway. And that's what I really want to do. I really like to help him out, help him fill this void that he's having, but I don't see anything that shows me where you're gonna get a lot of additional parking. I don't, unless someone else on the board can explain it to me, I'll be more than happy to, but I mean, that's why I asked about that distance between the two houses. You know, and, obviously it's by judging by the map and seeing there's no parking on Lafayette, but I don't see no parking signs indicated on William Street. So I have to assume that there is on-street parking on William Street. But again, it doesn't help handicapped or people in wheelchairs to get in and out of the practice either. And I can understand that. So I'm going to just sit back and say, I have a lot to think about and let somebody else speak.
Dottie?
I don't know, I kind of agree with Greg. I don't know, a lot of this leaves something to be desired, that I can understand where the doctor's coming from. And all the issues that, he's presented to us. I know there's a lot of that we can't control, but we should, I don't know, we probably should be able to come up with some kind of solutions. I don't know, or have somebody have them come back to the board here with some of the variants and the changes that could exist to help out the practice here. If he's getting additional patients, he needs an area there where additional people, people can park and maneuver around. There's a lot of questions and issues, but you try to work with what we've been presented tonight, and I'm kind of, I don't know, at times confused, but at times I understand it. It's, I don't know, kind of, unless somebody else has got some other to add to it. I can understand the locations and properties is somewhat confusion. The house, I don't know if he sells that property, it might give him additional finances to help his plight. That might help him if he sells that property that he's going to do. But that's here nor there. I can only say what I feel at this point.
Dave?
Simply put, there is no hardship that's been presented for 120 William Street, unfortunately. And so I don't think the board has authority to grant this variance. I'm not sure other options that the applicant might have to reconsider so that the hardships that were presented for the other property can be used to address zoning variances in a different combining the two properties, for example, would probably result in other zoning variances, but they would then have the hardship that they've discussed that could be used for that potentially. And renting that other property, continue to rent that property out. I'm sure there would be some zoning variances that would be required to do that. Maybe that would be, you could use that, the justifications that they've presented to do that, but I don't see any way we can vote for this variance. I can vote for this variance as is.
Bob?
Okay, based on the face value of the application, like the chairman, I have not heard a viable hardship for 120 William Street. I have heard a compassionate plea for additional space required for the 67 Lafayette Street property. And based on that, I think that that is probably where the zoning application should have been based on, is the Lafayette Street. Again, because we're dealing with two different pieces of property, on face value, one ownership, it would have been much easier to make determinations based on one piece of property in total. And then making the required changes to the property boundary and then subdividing again. So again, it's basically the hardship that I haven't heard that I need satisfied.
And I'm going to echo almost that exactly. What we have to deal with, and I'm just speaking to everybody, we have to first have a hardship. It has to be specific to that property, it has to be to that property and only that property and what makes it different in the area. We cannot consider financial. That's clear in every law written on zoning. We can't consider financial problems as a hardship. And although I believe it's a financial hardship, can't enter into our conversation. It can't be part of our discussion. It can't be part of our decision. We have to base our decisions on case law specific to the property and the evidence presented. And when asked to the applicant what the hardship was to the property, he clearly stated he did not have one. So I don't find any way we could legally grant this variance. So I will be voting no for it. Is there any other comments before I call for a vote?
Yes.
No.
Sorry, you can't.
So a motion was made to grant and seconded to approve all of the requests as presented. So all those in favor to grant. And just for the record, I'm just going to do a roll call. Greg?
Nay.
Dottie? Dave?
No.
Bob?
No.
Mark Benjamin also no. Motion has failed unanimously. Staff updates?
No, I don't have any updates, but can we collectively kind of go on here, because this may come back to us, and I wanted to discuss with the board the complexity, so that maybe I can talk to Attorney Wickless about this, because we're talking about a potential another application for Lafayette Street, but it's going to be affecting William Street. So it's actually you know, the discussion this evening was about hardships or the need of the parking for the Lafayette Street, but the variance is actually still going to be for William Street. So it gets really complicated there, and I'd like to talk to Attorney Wickless about this, but I'd also kind of like your input as to how, you know, what you would like me to try to get for more information, or how to structure something that is feasible, possibly to come back for another application. Is that okay, Mark?
I actually have a concern with that. I really don't, I appreciate everybody looking for a solution, but I don't think this board should be trying to find the solution. We should be weighing what it is on its merits. I caution us when we start looking and saying, hey, there's something we got to do. We got to look at it and we got to accept or deny it. We shouldn't be the problem solvers.
Right. Yeah, no, I wasn't looking for a solution, but more of the direction as far as, we've got two properties. Do we want one application with two properties on it, or do we want two applications? Because and I don't have an answer. And, you know, I haven't had an answer from this from the very beginning.
Mr. Chairman, if I can interrupt for a minute, I have to agree. The board of us that vote, we can't interject. But I don't really see if the zoning officer wants to try to work with the attorney and the doctor to see if they can come up with some better plan so that we can. I mean, I've stated on record since I've been on this board that I want to see Norwich grow with businesses. I don't want to see businesses leave. And if the zoning officer can sit back and work with the attorney and work with the applicant and maybe come up with a better presentation for us to present to us, the board, without the board being involved, I mean, I don't think I would really be. I mean, I know we're not supposed to get involved, but I don't think the zoning officer, he could probably try to help them and work with it.
No, I agree. I don't want us to solve something tonight and walk into next month's meeting with 5 votes in a pocket. I don't think that's right.
I wasn't looking for, you know, a solution. I just was looking for any of the, well, we had everybody here, any concerns that I could move forward, you know, to try to address, but I'll talk to Attorney Wickless and we'll figure it out. Thank you.
I'm not trying to be difficult. I just don't want.
No, I know, and I understand and respect. Yeah, and you're right. You guys aren't here to solve a problem.
Right. All right. Any other thing on staff updates?
No.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. Greg
All
Cloud.
those in favor to adjourn?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Meeting adjourned, 8:22.
Mark.
Thank you, everyone. Yes.
Said thank you.
All right, thanks.
Have a good night.
Bye.